Good evening. My name is Severin Garrett. Just trying to get us set up here real quick so that we can see well. Tonight, we're going to be learning about the Tower Garden. And let's see if I can get this set up. Christy, can you just confirm that you can see that screen okay? Excellent. Okay, perfect. So again, my name is Severin Garrett. I am, sorry, we're having a few technical difficulties. Can you move that? Okay, thank you. I am a certified health coach, and tonight we're going to be sharing about the Tower Garden with you. Everything Tower Garden is what we titled this presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to my husband, who is kind of a pro, all things Tower Garden, and he'll share more with you about our experience in working with the Tower Garden. And he'll also just share some really great details on this amazing forward-thinking technology. So James, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, honey, and welcome everybody to the call. Thanks for joining us. And I'm really excited to be back on a Monday night call. It's been a while since I've been able to be a part of one. And for those of you who know me best, if I'm on a Monday night call, chances are we're going to be talking about Tower Gardens, my favorite subject lately. So tonight, what I'd like to do is to lay out for you in detail the three types of Tower Garden. We're going to talk about what their primary uses are and help you see them not just in your home, but also in businesses, in restaurants, doctors, or chiropractic offices, and places like that. And there's so many other applications that we can look for. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start going back to basics. I know some of you have Tower Gardens, some of you are more familiar, but some of you have no experience and have not even seen one yet. So we're just going to go back and have a basic overhaul of what is a Tower Garden and what is aeroponics. So very simply, a Tower Garden is a vertical aeroponic growing system. The difference between aeroponics and hydroponics is very simple. The root system with aeroponics hangs in air as opposed to hydroponics where the root system is submerged in water. What we've learned over the years, what science has taught us, is that the root system of a plant needs as much oxygen as it needs water. It actually needs three things. It needs water, minerals, and oxygen. Therein lies the problem with hydroponics. With the aeroponics, what we create is the perfect growing environment for a plant. So you have an equal amount of those three: oxygen, water, and the minerals. So let's talk about how the Tower Garden came about. It was invented by a guy named Tim Blank. That's Tim right there. Some of you know him. He was the chief horticulturist of the Epcot Center. He actually interned there after college and then ended up in the top spot where I think he held it for something like 15 years. And he is famous for saying, we cannot grow out, but we can grow up. The premise of that statement comes from his understanding of farmland globally, which we now understand that we have used up just about 99% of all commercially arable land. So if you wanted to go out and buy 10,000 acres and grow corn, you couldn't do it if it was new land. You would have to be buying existing farmland. And they say that within the next 20 years and population growth going the way that it is, we will need an area roughly the size of Brazil in order to grow enough food to feed the world. It doesn't exist. Hence, we can no longer grow outwards, but we can grow upwards. The Tower Garden was picked up by the University of Mississippi, and I'm just going to show you this slide. This just gives you the what they discovered. Now, this was not a sort of back of the classroom, a few guys got together with a Tower Garden. This was actually an official study. It's a white paper study. It's been published in several journals. But they took a Tower Garden and they took an area of dirt and grew the exact amount of kale, basil, and spinach in both areas. And their findings, as it says here, Tower Garden used 98% less water, 90% less space. They actually had a 30 to 60% greater yield on the Tower Garden, but the minimum across the board was 30%. and it grew 3 times faster, which is pretty amazing. And actually, NASA, who a lot of what goes on at the Epcot Center goes to NASA, and they said aeroponics is by far the most productive growing system that they have ever come across. Do not be surprised to find tower gardens on Mars before long. So let's look at the benefits of aeroponics over regular growing. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. You're welcome to read it later because it'll be on recording. But the biggest aspect is that there's no dirt. So you're dealing with something that has no dirt. Therefore, you don't have any of the issues that come along with dirt. You don't have any weeding. 90% of all bugs come up from the soil as opposed to from the air, and therefore we remove that issue with growing. It obviously takes a lot less space. Its growing is much more productive, and we can do this indoors, outdoors, doesn't matter. It's easy, it's simple, and for a lot of people it could actually be considered fun. Now let's look at the 3 different types of tower garden that are out there, and we're going to start off with the small 2, which are basically the homeowner version. And one of them is going to be the Tower Garden Flex, and the other one is the Tower Garden Home. So this is the Tower Garden Flex. This is the Tower Garden that, and if you have one, chances are this is what you have. This was the original Tower Garden that was made available to the homeowner. This is, they sort of aptly name it the Flex because this tower garden is so versatile. So this one can be brought indoors and we can use lights. It can be outdoors, which is what it was originally created for. And this is also the same tower that we use in the commercial environment. So this is just a little home shot. This was Severin and I at our house in Atlanta before we moved up here, but it just shows you what the tower can look like on your deck or outside on your patio, by the pool, anywhere that you have sunshine. And how easy is this? We had literally farm to table on our deck. So it went straight from the tower into the bowl, straight onto the table. Now, I'm not sure why this is, but for some reason, every time that there are pictures of Severin and the tower garden, she's dressed nicely and she looks all cute. Whereas for some reason, every time a picture is taken of me, I seem to be in my pajamas. I'm not sure why that is. So let's move on. Let's talk about the Tower Garden home growing system. So this is really exciting. This is brand new. This only just came out this month. It was just introduced. And the whole point of this was, after 8 years of a lot of success with the Tower Garden Flex, they realized that there was a larger portion of people who actually didn't have the space, or they didn't have enough of the light or all the other things that the other tower garden is most useful for. So they decided to create a model that was based on the European model. It's about almost a foot smaller in its circumference, has the same amount of plants, it's got the same system of lights, but it's got wheels that are actually built into the drum. The whole idea is that this makes this much more accessible. It's a lot smaller, it's a lot easier to have indoors, and it's also created primarily for indoors. So if you're going to do any growing outdoors, you would not really want to use this tower. It's not that it couldn't, but you might just as well go back to the Tower Garden Flex. So this is primarily for people who live in smaller environments, either condos, they might have a north-facing deck, or they don't have enough sunshine, or it just could be a small place. So, but it's a great brand new addition to the Tower Garden family. This picture here shows it as it was being introduced at the conference, and that's showing you with a lot of lettuce and great produce in there. And then it also happens to have this little gadget. This is brand new. You can only come on the Tower Garden Home. This is a leveler, so it allows you to actually see the level of the water without having to open it up and go into the reservoir. This is huge because I can guarantee you, if any of you have tower gardens, at some point in time, you have let that tower garden run dry. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I've done it at least 3 or 4 times. It's pretty nauseating because you come home and everything looks dead. That's not to say it is dead. It can come back to life. But this is a great thing because literally from across the room, you know exactly how much water is in that tower garden. So let's move on a little bit and start looking at the commercial side Oh, sorry, one more slide. Let's look at the home versus the flex. We've talked about most of what there is. Primarily, the garden home is designed for indoors, comes with the wheels, it comes with the lights. It's a package deal. It's sort of a plug and play. Whereas opposed to the Tower Garden Flex, they don't come with the wheels. So if you want wheels, you have to have the dolly as additional. The lights are additional. So they just have those sort of basic dissimilars. The other thing is all the components are the same. So you get the same kit, the same everything that comes with it. Including all the seeds and so forth. The only thing the Flex doesn't have is the water level monitor. Now, moving on to where we are in life and another favorite subject, that is Tower Garden Commercial. So this is the farm in Waynesville, just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. So this was one of the earlier farms that was created. I think I took that picture like 3 years ago. But I want to go over the Tower Garden Farm or the commercial side of it in a little more detail. The Tower Garden Farm is anything over 10 towers that is attached with an automated system. In other words, you've got a dosing station, it's got a gravity tank, the minerals, the pH, and everything is done on an automated system. So again, they created this as a package, almost as a plug and play. Again, it's very simple, very easy. But you can just keep adding to it. So for instance, Sever and I, who were about to open our farm, we will end up with 100 towers, but we're not going to start with 100 towers. So we can just kind of add on depending on the greenhouse. Now this picture shows you a little something that's far more on the commercial scale. I'm not sure where this is. I thought it was the farm in Phoenix, but this guy's wearing a big sweater. So I can't imagine that's where this is. It may be in South Georgia, but it just shows you how far we can take this and how much produce and how many greens that we can be growing in a commercial environment. Sorry, we're going to go back. You may be wondering when you are likely to come across an opportunity or any environment where a farm may be something that you'll talk about. So what I want to do is just kind of open your mind. Think about this. Every time you walk into a restaurant or a community center, think of a church, any other location that could benefit from having access to an abundance of healthy greens, malls, sports arenas, schools. I'll give you a brief story. This is something that just happened a few weeks ago. Sever and I were in New York. This was at a Tower Garden workshop. And after the workshop, we went up to visit with my uncle who lives in upstate New York in a place called Barryville. This also happens to be 20 minutes from the original site of Woodstock. So we decided to go visit. It was pretty impressive. There was an amphitheater, there was gardens, there was a park, and there was this full-blown museum with an attached restaurant, and it was a really good restaurant. Well, it was a quiet time of day, so we decided to ask if we could talk to the chef, and the chef came out. We ended up having a 20-minute conversation about Tower Gardens and how this could possibly fit with what they were doing, and that they could become a farm-to-table restaurant. This is very exciting to the chef. Now, to be honest, we have a long way to go with this, and this may not come to anything, but just understand that just adding 20 minutes to our day gave us the opportunity to have a conversation that could lead to unbelievable things. So don't rule out the fact that you may come across the opportunity to talk to someone about a Tower Garden farm. You would be amazed how many places there is that could fit a small 10-tower farm and then grow into something. Now, just briefly, what happens if you do end up having that conversation and you do find someone who wants to buy a farm or is interested in that? Well, you've got a couple of options. The first one, and the simplest one, is you call me and I take it from there. And we're not going to get into the details of what happens after that, but it's something that you stay involved with, but I primarily run the program. But you might want to consider the option that they might just want multiple towers, but they don't necessarily need a commercial farm. And there's one other increment Tower Garden module that we have, and that's the community garden, which typically comes as a 12-tower package, but this is not an automated system. So anybody doing this, they would be managing the towers manually, just like you would on the homeowner version. So they're filling them up themselves, they're measuring out the minerals, they're doing the pH. The only difference is they have 12 towers. This is a really good opportunity for some of the schools or restaurants who don't want to get into the full-blown program, but they just want to grow food and have multiple towers. The option two, obviously, is purchasing a commercial operation. That includes not just the towers, but also an automated system that monitors the minerals and the pH and all that kind of stuff. Now, last year, the Tower Garden Company actually they created this package to start making this much simpler for anybody really to be able to pass this off and sell a Tower Garden farm. And what they've done is they created a 10-tower package. So literally, this is a plug and play. They ship it. They've managed to lower the cost because they created a package, and they're looking to come up with a 25-tower package to go with that. Now, earlier I mentioned several non-home environments that have benefited from Tower Gardens, and whether it's the homeowner version or the commercial tower. So just a few things here to give you an idea. It's great for schools. This is an incredible learning opportunity. Kids love Tower Gardens. If kids grow food, they eat it. How great is it to get a child to eat kale? But what the schools are finding is it fits so well with their educational system and the curriculum that they have. They're teaching kids about seeds. They're teaching kids about how food is grown, where food comes from. The average child thinks produce comes from a grocery store. They have no idea of farming. So this opens their eyes to what really is going on out there. But they also can take this to the next level, which is to grow food, to actually produce food, to sell food at a farmer's market, and or to see the commerce side of this. So it's just a great opportunity. It's also attached to the STEM program, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's a very simple insert into their curriculum. And Severin in Atlanta, I think we have about 30 towers in schools in Atlanta, and that's where these pictures come from. And it's just been really exciting to see how they have added to their classroom environment. So literally, these guys can roll these towers from classroom to classroom. It's very simple. And with the new Tower Garden Home, it has just become that much more simple. Now, the other area is chiropractic office, doctor's offices, and things like this. This is actually my chiropractor in Atlanta. She's a sports chiropractor and a place that I need quite often. And there she is right there. That's Ashley. I was just there recently. These guys are absolute pros. There's about 4 of them or 5 of them in this office. They eat smoothies every single day, and they love kale in their smoothies. So they grow it, and they go to that tower every single day. They're picking their lunch off that tower and some of the produce they take home. They're rock stars. They're doing so good with that tower. The last place that I want to talk about is restaurants. This is actually a rooftop restaurant in New York City. It's called the Bell, Book and Candle. Well worth a visit. But you can place Tower Gardens just about anywhere. So for restaurants, it could be in a parking lot, it could be in their basement, it could be in a part of their building, or it could be on the roof. And there's the chef. Imagine this guy grows everything from lettuce to cantaloupe melons. I mean, he grows tomatoes and eggplant, every herb. So the entire produce for that restaurant comes off of that garden. Now, he's got 60 towers. These are not the commercial towers. They're the shorter ones. But it certainly wouldn't take 60 towers to feed a restaurant. So it's quite exciting. Now, we may want to talk just briefly about the cost of the towers. And so very simply, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, so whoever invited you to the call, you can talk to them and they can kind of really crunch the numbers. But basically, we're looking at about $550 to $1,000, depending on whether you're looking at the Flex or the home version. And that just depends on shipping. With the home version, the lights come included, but they also have, as most of you know, the 12-month program. And so you're looking somewhere around $45 to $85 a month, depending. So again, get with the person who got you on this call and you could talk those numbers in a little more detail. And in case you're interested, the 10 package Tower Farm actually goes for $10,000, which is pretty incredible considering to what that includes and what comes with it. And so now you may be wondering why we decided to pick this time of year to have this topic and to get onto this. Personally, I don't believe there's ever a bad time to buy a tower garden. And just for some people, it could take them 2 or 3 months to actually make their decision. However, guess what's coming around the corner? Yes, you guessed it. And who wouldn't want a tower garden in their stocking? I'd like a stocking that big personally. So it just I can't believe I just noticed on this slide, it says, let us help you. I don't know who came up with that. That's cool. But anyway, it's a great gift. People love them. It's so easy to create this for somebody or entice somebody into buying one. So guys, that is the end of the presentation. That tells you as much as I felt was necessary. You can also get with me at another time, but we'd love to open this up for questions. So I'm going